Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever we may find you in this moment in time. Welcome to 292. That is the day of Humanity Rising. It is also deep within the corridor of the in-between. Here we've been through the last 18 months of living in a global pandemic and navigating ourselves through rules of law in how we wear masks and how we be vaccinated and how we should show up. Now, as we transition into a world post-COVID, it isn't really over for so many people. It is indeed the corridor of the in-between. Bali and Java have had tourists removed for not wearing masks. They are in a lockdown. They have the highest surge they have had in the entire time of the coronavirus onsurge due to the failure of the Chinese vaccine that was used to do their immunization. For those of us who think we're out of the woods, it's a very confusing time. I know I go into a store and I'm told to wear my mask, which I have no problem. I've got it in my hand. And then as I put it on, I watch 3 people walk beside me without a mask right into the store. And what would I say? Would I say, oh, hello, how come they're not wearing a mask and I am? Why would I ask that? I'm my own judge. I'm my own decision maker. I'm the one who needs to understand what my norms are, what I believe is safe, not only safe for me, but safe for those around me. I'm the one who's responsible for the informed choice. I'm the one who needs to rethink my norms, my values, my beliefs in this stage of the corridor of the in-between. We know that this corridor started a long time ago, and we do know that it will continue, and it will continue with a significant amount of turmoil. And so how do we do this? How do we navigate this corridor of the in-between? Well, Mother Nature has done corridors of the in-between through all of the millions and trillions of years that she's been around. She knows how to transition from winter into a spring, into a summer, into a fall, and into a winter again. She is the master of teachers when it comes to this. And so we ask the question, what would Mother Nature do? And this is where we come into the notion of biomimicry. How do we learn from nature that can inform us to make the decisions that we are needing to make in a time of turbulent change? The other thing I want to mention is that we're equipped for this, believe it or not. We incarnated into this time in history because we knew this was going to happen. Well, we may not have thought we knew, but we know now. And the question is, how do we do this? Well, I can say without a question of a doubt that the software and hardware that is inside our bodies is waiting for us to activate it. We have it inside of us. Every ounce of knowledge and wisdom that we need for this corridor of the in-between, where we're being asked to unlearn what we once knew, to unfreeze from the way we thought things should be, to a new reality. It's messy. It ain't pretty. It can be darn uncomfortable and sometimes really shocking. However, we're still equipped for that. We have the intelligence. It's inside of us. It's ours to activate. And so before we turn into this amazing panel on biomimicry, we're going to meditate. But today we're going to meditate from our gut. You might say, well, I like the heart, and that soul place in the third eye was kind of neat. And I'll say, yes, but we have 3 brains, 3 active neural pathway brains that are designed to give us information and not just simply physically take us through our metabolism of our world. The gut is a highly intelligent brain. It's called the inner library of our knowing. When you say listen to your gut, It's not just because your stomach knows, it's because your solar plexus is encoded with cellular memory and neural networking that does know the intelligence of what you must do in that moment. And so with me, let's spend a moment in bringing and receiving the information from our solar plexus. So I'm going to take our attention down into that part of our body that we call our gut. Just say hello to it. Hello. Now, I want you to relax. I want all of this other physical form to just give way. Just let it go. Let go of anything in your feet, any tension in your knees. Make sure your ankles are free. Make sure your thighs are free. Make sure your hip is relaxed. Make sure that your spine is nice and straight but relaxed. Make sure your front is so relaxed. It's just breathing with you. Now let's make sure that your hands and your arms are just really, really nicely falling almost asleep. The only thing I need you to do is breathe. Let's take 3 very deep breaths. Breathe in through your gut and out through your gut. In through it and out. In and out. Now, as you put your focus on your gut, see it opening, and coming through it is yellow, bright sun energy. Bring it in from this marvelous universe in which we live. Bring it in and let it process through that gut. Let it swirl. Let it then make its journey through that area. And then as you breathe, let it out. And then bring in the next sunshine into your gut. Let's just take a minute to do this in silence with our music playing. Now send that sunshine all the way up through your chest and in through your head and out through your crown, and take the rest down through your hips, down through your feet and into the earth, creating a cord of sun, yellow, bright energy spiraling through you. Hello, my friends. Again, this is the solar plexus when we say, I am. When we answer the question, I am, it's our gut that tells us that answer. And hoping that that meditation gives more resonance and empowerment to the I am. I have the absolute delight of welcoming Hugo Harul into this panel today, who's convening this wonderful group of people. You know, Hugo, we met, you didn't know I met you, but I was avidly watching the regeneration of education when you were first on Humanity Rising. And then I got a chance to work with you on Cities Rising and the magnificent work that you did then. And then you just blew us out of the park on Peace Week. And you know, the things I found so interesting is that when I first met you and not really knowing you, I thought you were a tech whiz. I thought, oh, he's a technology guy. He really knows how to work with technology. And then as I got to know you, I realized you were this most amazing spiritual healer, this man of indigenous wisdom, and that you, as you say it, technology is simply your wings. The rest of you is embedded and magnificent in the creation of beautiful art. And so as we've gotten to know more of one another through the Masters in Regenerative Action and all of the various ways in which our wonderful interaction brings us, I couldn't be more delighted that you are and I are on this today together. And I just want to give a note that Hugo and his family just left, was it a day ago? Left Brussels 2 days ago, left Brussels, Belgium, where he and his family had been living, to make the journey into the magnificent bioregion of Costa Rica. And I will say for sure, Hugo, your background, as much as I love the art in your other Zoom room, this real jungle behind you, oh my goodness, this is exciting. So thank you so much for being here today and being here after what must have been a pretty challenging journey. 3 children and a partner. Yeah, all 5 of you making that trek.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you for your really kind words. I hope you can hear nature around here. There are some cicadas, and cicadas have inspired me for a while because they are omnipresent and they vibrate together as a collective being not to be seen by the predator. So I think it's a beautiful way to start around here in this jungle where everything is alive, and from nature where it is my heart in many ways. So today I really have this pleasure of being in Humanity Rising, and I don't know, that life and life just bring us into some challenges, and I really enjoy traveling with my family and being here. And this is my first and maybe last conference in a while, because I want to get deeper in nature and embrace whatever the flow is in my life for the next few days and weeks. So today I'm really honored as well for being here with 3 special biomimics, biologists, women, and of course they represent this feminine side together with me of the Mother Nature. Because what is Mother Nature teaching us is that we need to start from the place of gratitude. So I would like them to turn on their cameras and just introduce a little bit of yourself. So this is a program that is going to be treated as an art piece and as a spiritual piece. And the 3 women that I asked to be here are for me like very important, because their biology, their wisdom around nature, and their sensitivity and their connection to the Mother Nature is so special, that has been influencing my life in many ways. So first of all, I want to thank them because they are taking the time out of their families, their lives, and for being here. We are going to hold this space together. The 4 of us, we are biomimicry professionals, and of course, I'm the least capable of describing the biology that they will describe. But this art piece will be in 4 acts. So the first act will be Melina, then will be Nan, and then will be Tamsin. So if you feel to introduce yourself a little bit and just to say hi, and then whenever you want to start, Melina, we are ready. And at the end, we'll have an open conversation where we're going to invite Leslie, hoping that your hearts will be open and ready to hold this space together.
Thank you, Hugo, for the invitation, and hi, Nancy and Han Dancing, to be with us, and we together trying to bring some biology to the world. So I will present myself as the one who once was teaching biomimicry in the middle of a huge building of concrete, and I had no window to show any plant or any tree, any bird, anything around me. And I realized that we humans were the ones who were alive at that building, at that moment. And it was like a life showing me that we should be reconnecting deeply with our own nature, because we are nature, and that many times, and most of the time, and most of the people, we just have it for granted. We don't even realize how is or what is to be alive. So I have dedicated my life to understand how is this connection and this reconnection with nature in ourselves. So I work as biomimicry professional with social systems and communities and businesses and companies, and just to be sure that we can reconnect ourselves to what nature is and discover what we are. So that's me. I don't know if maybe Tamsin or Nancy wants to present.
Well, I'll go. I'm Tamsin, Dr. Tamsin Woolley Barker. I'm in San Diego, and I'm also, so I work with companies. I'm an evolutionary biologist by training and an anthropologist, as well as a biomimic. So I work with companies on redesigning structure, like social structure and process, because obviously, you know, everything that we do is biological, and we are biological beings. We are nature, and yet everything we live in, our work systems, our living systems, the organizations we live in, they're not designed biologically, they're designed like machines. So we're all stuck in these machines, and here we are, we're trying to solve these big problems, but we're not designed for it. So that's my mission, really, is to bring evolutionary thinking to everything we do, so that we can tackle the things we need to tackle, and do the things we need to do for a beautiful planet together. So that's my mission. That's me.
You're on mute now.
Nancy, you're muted. Nancy, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I was saying I have a very slow internet connection, so I think I have to turn off my camera, but I just thought I'd say hi to everyone, and then I'll just continue talking. Is my voice breaking up? It's okay, leave the camera on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try it. So tell me if it's a problem. Yeah, I'm coming to you from Puget Sound, and I grew up on an island and played with little wild animals, and rather than kids growing up most of the time. And I found a very, very deep connection with nature. So I've probably felt closer to the natural world than the human world most of my life. And I'm happy to be here, Leslie. I loved your talk. That was amazing. I'm a biomimicry consultant. I also write and illustrate books for National Geographic and some other publishers. I'm an artist, and I love doing the biomimicry work. It's so important these days, and really happy to see where it's going. So I'll turn off my camera, hand it back to you, Hugo.
Thank you, Nan. And Melina, are you ready? Please
Yes.
start. And thank you for holding this space together.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit of the biology for reconnection, and this is gonna be a little bit of understanding why we are ready to be natural as humans. So this is both of us who have been working a lot with bringing biomimicry to the world. And the idea is to bring nature from the idea of nature to the reality of how we can embody this knowledge from nature in order to be real in the world, to be wild in the world. And the first thing that I want to tell you is about the levels of organization in nature. We know this embedded, nested organization from which cells are organized in tissues, and they are organized in organs, and in organ systems, and in organisms, and in communities, and in ecosystems, and so on. And something that has been triggering me during my biology career, and I did my thesis in this, is how they have evolutionary coherence between all these levels, like how cells can evolve, and at the same time organs can evolve, and at the same time ecosystems are evolving, and everything is connected. In how, if we are seeing the nature just like from the scale perspective. And so I did this model, and it is just like the basic two levels of organization we have, which is like the individual, which are the yellow-orange, and the blue one, which is the community. We have the individuals forming communities. And these individuals are connecting by relationships, different kind of relationships. But there are some relationships that at some point started to get more probable appearance, let's say. Like we prefer to be with some people than with others. So it started to have this emergence process of bringing new organizations inside the community between the individuals. So it's kind of a sandwich, you know, like, so evolution is working with in creating new layers of jam and cheese and all these sandwiches all the time. And these red emergent organizations become individuals. So every one of these levels are individuals, the orange ones, the red ones, and the blue ones. And they are just nested in a big, amazing complexity of relationships. So what I have been working with communities, with human communities, is this comprehension of the relationship between all the levels. And if you see yourselves going into that group, when we used to do that, and we take a course, and sometimes we just see 2-3 people with which we want to connect most because their interactions, because what they say, because how they behave. And we started to make subgroups between human groups. And this is like a natural pattern of behavior in nature. So what it is really nice to understand is that every level, every scale is working like with the same kind of logic of individuals inside communities, creating relationships and an emergence process with them. This is for your screenshots to be able to go to that 7 vortex that had this QR for you to go. And so we have, for example, cells, and cells have some internal structures, and we have multiple cells. And in animals, something that the cells, animal cells do for connecting is to create different kinds of junctions. This is the gap junction between animal cells, which are basically spots in our membranes, you know, like this individual kind of limit that we all have between ourselves. I do this, this is my limit. I put my limits, you know, how you have heard this kind of most most frequent way of communicating many things in between humans. It's about the limits. And what happens with those limits is that cells create spaces to join. And actually they have specific proteins to join them, their membranes. It's called connection. And they do like a structure of different connections, and they will do a connection, which is a channel. And there are proteins embedded in the membrane. So it's kind of when you want to be in touch with some people, you are creating these connections to be able to fit with their connections. So we can communicate, you can pass information through it, you can pass resources through it. And we need to really understand that it is just the flow of resources that we can create with others that will really keep a healthy metabolism between humans. So these are like the bond structures between cells. And I want to give you an example of this flow of resources that can reach a very, very high level of integration, which is in the fungi. This is the EPHI. The mycelium is composed by different filaments or EPHI. These cells are separated one after the other one. But at some point, and in some mushrooms more than in other ones, they will just take out all the separations, and they will start to flow like a huge, big one polynucleus cell with all the nuclei just moving around. It's like if my brain started to connect with other humans, let's say, and then our brains started to move between all these bodies, kind of, you know, but at the cellular level. So the information, the capacity of combine things, and the flows that can go through this network of individuals, this is a emergent level that will create, this is the fungi, but this will create these structures. And actually, this is what creates this. This is an example of the flow of resources in the temperate wet forests in the Pacific, North America. And these trees, these huge trees, grows in a very poor soil. And the researchers started to wonder from where these trees were taking the nitrogen. And they discovered they're taking the nitrogen for salmon, from fishes. So this forest is growing because these animals from water, you know, coming up, and what is going on is that these mushrooms are just decomposing it and distributing the resources through the whole forest. And there is another relationship that is in charge to bring those fishes to the forest. And so we start to understand how we are all linked, how we all have functions that even maybe bears don't know that they are so important for the trees, you know, but they are. And because they are just what they are, and they do what they do, they are able to create these amazing connections. And this is, I know, what we are used to see our human world, you know, like this not predictable, high, uncertain way of living. And that's what we are creating, and we are bringing to the vibration of humanity to the world. But actually what we want to bring is something more like that, more cyclic, more breathing, more exhaling, intaking, letting go, and all these beautiful vibration that we humans also have. So let's bring this at very different levels and understand that in these life cycles that we really need, we are passing at these specific times, we need to be able to grieve very old, let's say 200 years old or maybe more, but way of doing things, maybe 1,000 years old. But there is something that it is really reorganizing, and we really need to liquidify ourselves. As a caterpillar liquidify itself in a cocoon in order to become a butterfly. So we really want to grieve an old system to be able to create new things. And this is an ecological lesson also, from a tree that it is dead, and this is the omega part of the forest of a tree, can just bring more light to cross to the soil of the forest and let sprout some more plants that some will grow fast than others, but the whole relationship between them will create a very mature ecosystem at the end. So this kind of cycling of life that we need to understand, and bringing death as a part of what we need to live as humans. So there is a big, huge economic tree dying, or social organizations dying, and inner spaces that they're also dying. And we are confronting right now, in a post-pandemic time, lots of griefs, not just for people, but also for what we really want to go towards. It's another perspective of reality. We don't want to be controlled by using or not the mask, as Leslie was saying before. You know, we don't want to just stick to one way to do things. We want diversity. We want resource distribution. We want to thrive and regenerate the planet. So we need to understand what is dying and how we can connect ourselves in a way that will bring us a deep understanding of distribution of resources. And so I will let my presentation there, and I want you to jump to another biological inspired session. So maybe it's Nan who's coming.
Great, enjoy your talk.
Now we can hear you.
I'm going to keep can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my video off because of my unstable internet connection, and I'll do a screen share here. Are you seeing my screen?
We can see it now. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. I thought I'd talk a little bit about bioluminescence. I know this has been a huge inspiration for Hugo and for a lot of us in our group. As you probably know, bioluminescence is light produced by a chemical reaction within a living organism. And we see this a lot in oceans, in the firefly squid, comb jelly. Shrimps in the Bahamas actually spew bioluminescent mucus to try to avoid predation. And down in the deep sea, the anglerfish uses this light to attract prey. It's bioluminescent. There are even terrestrial species that use bioluminescent, like the foxfire fungi up in trees. But I thought I'd tell you a little bit about this cool organism. In the tropical moonlit shadows of Kaneohe Bay in Hawaii, this watchful eye periscopes out of the sandy seafloor, and this tiny little cephalopod emerges. It beams light from its belly, and this guy, the Hawaiian Bob telescope, by beaming light. Using a sensor, the squid detects ambient starlight and moonlight, sending the information to specialized light organs housed in the bioluminescent bacteria in the squid's belly. The shutter controls the brightness. The Vibrio fischeri bacterium sends a beam to the seafloor, mimicking the ambient starlight, moonlight, enabling this guy to scoot around in stealth mode without creating a shadow. It's just so amazing. So as the new day dawns, it just buries itself into the sand where it's going to sleep all day, and it pumps out the bacteria, about 90% of the bacteria, leaving about 10% so that it can actually multiply, the bacteria can multiply, and then at the end of the day, when it goes out night hunting at night, it can turn on the light. So how does the bacteria do this? It has something called quorum sensing. One bacteria alone can't cause bioluminescence or light, but they send a signal outside of themselves that's able to communicate with other signals of other Vibrio fischeri bacteria. This would be interspecies communication that other bacteria can't hear. So once they aggregate and light simultaneously by communicating that, it's a very incredible strategy. Bacteria and microbes were probably the first organisms to inhabit the planet, maybe around 3.5 to 3.8 billion years ago. And they're very highly evolved. There's so much we can learn from them and how they operate. It takes a whole team of Vibrio fischeri to turn on the light. One can't do it alone. And as we move forward, I think this is a really good thing to think about, humanity rising, that it's something that we can't do alone, that we need to work together. Our biomimicry team, which Hugo is a member of, we asked the question, how might we accelerate innovation? And we look to evolution to figure that out. And looking at, we came up with some hero organisms, and we looked at Vibrio fischeri and the Hawaiian bobtail squid, and we thought, what can we learn from them? And we could learn about inter and interspecies communication, quorum sensing, critical mass, illumination, and symbiosis. Taking these strategies and putting them into strategy cards, we could tell the biological story, and then extrapolating from that biological story a principle that we could use for innovation. And this is an example of the card for Vibrio fischeri. And I thought I would share this little short video. It's kind of a truncated version of the whole video, which I'll give you a link if you want to watch the whole thing. But this will tell a little bit about our project. Richard, would you like to play the video since my internet connection is a little bit weak?
I didn't receive the video, Nancy, I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't receive it? Okay, well then I'll go back to screen. Whoops. I'm not screen sharing anymore, right?
No. You can reshare the screen. And then...
Why don't you try it? It
back.
really isn't that bad, Nancy.
Yeah, it is good. Go for it.
Okay. Okay. So let me go back. We asked the question, how does nature evolve? What are the mechanisms that actually make that happen? And are there times when organisms evolve really quickly? Normally, we think of evolution as happening over a long period, but there are times, in fact, when evolution does happen quickly. In what context does that happen? Under what circumstances? What are the accelerating factors in evolution to cause rapid change? How does nature respond to rapid change with resilience? We're living in a time unprecedented in human history with seemingly insurmountable challenges. More than ever, we need to speed up solutions. If we could apply accelerating factors of evolution to innovation and problem solving, what might that look like? How might we use nature strategies to accelerate innovation while building resilience? A team was born from a group of individuals with diverse backgrounds and disciplines: business, engineering, biology, and design. This diversity of perspectives, years of development and iteration, has led to a robust model, a framework for solving the world's biggest challenges based on 3.8 billion years of nature's R&D. We call ourselves Biominga. The meaning comes from two words. Bio means life, and Minga, a collective action coming together for the greater good. So now, further honing on the mechanism of evolution, we have behavior, disturbance, and mutation. Each has a set of accelerating factors in which evolution can happen more rapidly. By looking at these accelerating factors and extrapolating their deep principles, going from biology to design, we have come up with strategies for problem solving, accelerating humans' ability to innovate. By using nature's time-tested strategies that have kept species going for billions of years, the accolades couldn't be better. Survival of the species proves the deep principles actually work. This gives us a new lens in which to view challenges on a personal, corporate, communal, and global levels. Wheels of innovation are a way of putting this evolutionary model into practice with revolutionary results. Join Biominga as we embark on a new meme: enlightening, inspiring, biomimetic thinking, fostering life-centered design and accelerated innovation. So to learn more about Biominga, go to biominga.com, and I'm going to stop screen share and then come to a different screen, and then we can explore the website and try the wheels. Is the image up?
No, we
Can you
don't
see the
see it.
website?
There it is. We've got it now.
No, not yet.
No, it's here now.
Okay. So when you come to the, when you come to the website, there's, you can click that off to stop the video. And then if you scroll down, Let's Play is where we're going to go. This tells a little bit more about the wheels of innovation. Scrolling down, there's another little video trailer that you can watch. And if you want to see the whole video of the one that I just played, back up on the top under More, and then video is how you get to it. So to get to the wheels of innovation, also called the Biomimicry Oracle, click Let's Play. And then here's the wheels of innovation. I don't know if Hugo or anyone has a specific question, or we can just use maybe resilience for humanity rising, for all the people in humanity rising. How can we be more resilient? Maybe perhaps that's a question that we can ask. So to spin the wheels, if you're on an iPhone or a pad, you can just use your finger or use your cursor if you're on a computer. So this first wheel is behavior. This one is disturbance. And the yellow one is mutation. This is actually a Venn diagram. So the three symbols that come together in the middle are the ones that we're going to focus on. And the cards will pop up telling us what these symbols mean. It's my slow internet connection. Sorry about that. So behavior is cell differentiation. Disturbance is regeneration. And we're waiting for mutation. Well, while we're waiting for that one, we can just, and that one is cumulative change. Oh, I'm not sure why that came up. Oh my goodness. Let's try this one and see if it's going to work, because that one's requiring me to sign in and I was already signed in. So I'll try it again. Resource management is behavior, disturbance is adaptive radiation, and mutation is external influence. See, oh my goodness. I wonder if Tamsin should talk and
if you click on the agree,
come back to this. What was that?
If you click on the agree.
What was that, Hugo?
Agree on the terms, and then it was before then. Yeah, maybe we can go with Tamsin.
I'm not even seeing where.
The one
I'm not
before.
even seeing where agree is on here.
Cool.
Oh, okay, now it's working. So it's about, so the behavior card, how might we reformulate and stagger resources for resiliency? The hero organism is the kangaroo, and the life principle is use feedback loops, be energy and resource efficient. The biological story, kangaroos can suckle two joeys at different developmental stages with milk formulas of different nutritional content. The mother can keep the younger joey's growth in suspension while giving attention and energy to the older joey. Most kangaroo species can harbor a partly developed embryo, keeping it in a state of suspended development, then go into active gestation when the older joey leaves the pouch. So the innovation principle for this would be ability to nurture different developmental stages at the same time with appropriate resource allocation. Allows one project to simmer on hold while energy goes into the development of another. When space and resources are again available, the simmering project is ready to be awakened and take off. The little jingle to help remember this: when projects compete, let one sleep. Reformulate resources for energy sources. So keep in mind your own resilience challenges when I read these, and maybe you can apply it to some things going on in your life or your organization. Next, we'll look at adaptive radiation. This is in the disturbance category. How might we rapidly foster resilience, diversity, and innovation? The hero is the Galapagos finches. Life principle, evolve to survive. Members of the same species of birds, blown by wind to various islands of the Galapagos, became geographically separated. They developed characteristics to help to survive in their new niches. Beaks change size and shape depending on the food source. Adrenals, this signals specific genes to turn on and off. These signals alter the behavior of cells responsible for beak sculpting. The innovation principle, adaptive radiations, radiating out from one's territory or adapting to a new one, often occur as a result of members of the same group fitting into a new environment. Taking advantage of all possible niches can lead to rapid diversification, differentiation, and innovation. Eventually, this subgroup may look and behave very differently from the parent group. Form follows function at a new junction. I think this one is particularly appropriate for the pandemic because we're sort of all finding ourselves on a new island, so to speak, and how we might change, how we might act differently, look and act differently from the parent group of humanity from which we've come. The last card, external influence. How might we use external factors to accelerate innovation? The hero is the pale grass blue butterfly, and the life principle is reshuffle information. Radiation that leaked from the Fukushima nuclear power plant following the 2011 tsunami cause mutations in butterflies, including stunted wings and dented eyes. Mutations in the parent's genetic material were passed on to the next generation. Abnormalities increased from 12% in the first generation to 18% in the second and 34% in the third. Mutations can lead to extinction if they're not beneficial, or they can occasionally be positive if they lead to resilience in finding a new ecological niche. Changes in DNA can happen very quickly when exposed to intense disruptive external factors. Changes can lead to negative or positive innovation and can directly affect the system which they inhabit and become habitual. Disruptor factors are extreme factors: external disruption, innovation, eruption. If anybody has questions about that, we can maybe talk about it at the end, but I think that we're also this is appropriate for the time that we're going on through now, that we can look at how we're going to change. It can be positive or negative as far as this giant disruption that we've had. So I just wanted to say a few things in closing, that a lot of people have taken Darwin's words about survival of the fittest in the wrong way and thought that that meant that there should be a lot of competition. But when we look at nature really deeply, we see that nature cooperates more than it competes with each other. And cooperation is really a key in the way systems work in nature and how things get done and create conditions conducive to life. My favorite quote is, "The best way to predict the future is to invent it." And I think we can do that with the help of biomimicry. On to you, Tamsin.
Hi, Nan, that was great. I love how both of you just presented all that biological stuff. That is exactly the stuff I talk about all the time. So I learned a lot of new ways to present that. So that was great. Thank you. So I've got a little deck here. Let's see. I'll share my screen. And let's see what we got here. How do we play? I should know this. Slideshow. Voila. Okay, I was just gonna do a little intro first. A lot of you probably already know me. I'm Dr. Tamsin Woolley-Barker, and I'm an evolutionary biologist. I studied evolution of baboons in Ethiopia. I lived in a little tent, and I'm really intense about my biological love of living things. So that's really my passion, is how evolution works and how we all got here. But a lot of people don't know that I'm also an artist, and that's actually been a lifetime struggling between art and my love of living things, and how do you make a career that works for you as a whole person. So that's been a lifetime struggle, and I used to just switch between one to the other. I had a painting studio, I did oil painting, and then I switched back to biology, and so that's just been a lifetime thing. And I think that we're really getting at what it takes to be a whole human, and it's unfortunate the way that we silo our lives and prevent ourselves from being whole people. So I just wanted to throw this out, that if you want to find out more about what we're doing, we got these new books coming out, and they're really different. So the teaming transformation is this biological structure that we're going to be talking about, but the underneath is this indigenous mindset and this understanding that we are in a world with all our relations. And that's really the foundation of the work that I do. So I wanted you to be aware of that. And then I'm also the Dean of Geoversity, which is the School of Biocultural Leadership. And I'm going to be telling you more about that. And so you can go to either of those sites and find out more. So how does nature adapt to change? I think that's kind of the nut of the thing here. And these are these mud skippers, pretty radical. How does nature adapt to change? And we saw the Biominga, which is so cool. And that's been inspiring to me as well. So we know that living things grow and develop and learn and adapt and evolve, and machines don't do that. So here we are, we've designed our entire society around this machine-like linear thinking of efficiency and make more, and that there's one way to do things that's most efficient. And there's no potential for evolution in that. So I think it's really fundamental. What we're talking about today is evolutionary literacy, because, you know, I pulled up, I just Googled STEM, the word STEM. And if you look at these logos, I can't see a single living thing in here. And then I Googled STEAM, thinking that would be a little more holistic. Not one living thing. And that's just crazy, because everything we do is biological. Everything we do is a living endeavor. So this blindness is just crazy. How can we hope possibly to adapt to change with a complete lack of literacy of evolutionary thinking? So nothing makes sense except in light of evolution. So how are we going to design if we're blind to how it even occurs? And these are these beautiful jaguars that we have in Panama, in the Mamoni Valley in Geoversity. So we have to be the navigators. We got to consciously evolve our collective future. And I think that without the compass of evolutionary theory, we're lost. And so here we are, we have, for some reason, maybe it's a religious one, nobody knows anything about evolution. Even to the point where we talk about living systems thinking with no evolution in it. Even biomimicry deals with these fixed categories of species that we see today, without a whole lot of sense of the evolutionary trajectory and the process and the structure by which change occurs. So that's my passion. So here's what my passion is trying to create a world, or do what I can to increase living diversity and thriving on the planet, right? This seems pretty much what we all like. And so I think of it as these 4 leverage points. So first off is this evolutionary thinking that we need to provide. And I think the biomimicry education is really fundamental to that, because it's enchanting, it's magical. Kids go, wow, that's really cool, that's really different. And it gets their imagination, and they start thinking about a world in which they're with all their relations. And the work that so this is really the crux of the thing is, are we designing like machines? Are we designing like living things? Are we designing for efficiency or resilience? And when you design for efficiency, you end up with no ideas and nothing happens. So this is the Greta Thunberg situation that we're in, where these kids are going, we know these problems are here. Why aren't you guys doing anything? This is why. So these are Daphnia water fleas. So what they do, there's all kinds, but this is a particular bunch that live in San Diego, where I am. And so it's very dry here. We get less than 10 inches of rain a year, but when we get it, it's all at once. So these little guys, their little dry eggs are lying in the dust, little cysts, waiting for the rains to come. So when they finally do, they got to work fast, right? So they got this pond of water, this ephemeral pool, and they start cloning themselves, just making more. And they're all little females, they're all the same, and they're just eating and making more of themselves. But when conditions start to decline and the oxygen goes down and the food goes down and the water warms up, they switch to sex. They start to make males, they cross-fertilize, they make new experiments, they try whatever they can to create new eggs for the next go round. And so that's the situation that we're in. We're designing a world of clones in a world that requires cross-fertilization. So it's a very fundamental design flaw that we've got. And I think that evolutionary thinking is the only way we can get out of it. Just that diversity is the key here, it's the raw feedstock of evolution. So any of these species, we think of them as like categories of like, that's the blue butterfly, that's the morpho butterfly. But in reality, if you're to look at their populations, they have an incredible amount of diversity within them. And that is the raw feedstock. And so natural selection is occurring all the time and conditions are changing all the time. So every population holds a bunch of different diverse ideas and experiments. And that's the potential that we have for change and adaptation. And so, you know, that's how living things work. But the interesting thing is about with humans is we actually have become superorganisms. So we're not like the chimpanzees where we're out for ourselves in an individual sense. We actually work in these superorganism communities where, let's see if I have another slide here. Oh, I took all this stuff out. But so we're actually more like a superorganism society, like ants or honeybees, where we have a shared purpose and we're all doing different things independently to make that happen together. So these patterns come up over and over again in these superorganism societies, the way that they do what they do, and they apply to us as well. So this collective intelligence is how they make decisions, and it relies on diversity, diverse experiments and personalities and expertise, all this different stuff, but also independence. And so individuals have to be able to do whatever seems right to them. And the whole collective value of the colony depends on that diversity. And so designing a clone superorganism society, that is not the purpose of a superorganism. That's not how they work. They require diverse, independent individuals to collectively create this intelligence. And, you know, like Melina was talking about with the fungi, that's a similar thing. And we can call those fungi a superorganism in some sense, in that those are genetically distinct individuals, and they're actually sharing their cell walls and everything they do to get more as individuals as well. So that requires that reciprocity, that sharing that you see with the fungus, and like with the honeybees, they're sharing their hive, they're sharing the defense, all this. But it requires this distributed leadership, which is where you're actually suppressing dominance so that you can hold the space for diversity and independence. And that's the situation that we're in. We need this collective intelligence to innovate and to solve all these problems that we have. We need the diversity and the independence, but we're not structured for that. We're structured as a clone society, as a machine. And so we become hierarchical, and you need that distributed leadership to flatten it so that you can hold the space for these ideas so that we can adapt quickly. And that's where we're at. So I think it's really important to cultivate this distributed leadership in ways of where we all step forward to maintain fairness and equity and everyone's voices. We need it. So that's important, and that's part of my work. But then the regenerative value, I think, is really interesting here, because what these creatures are doing, I mean, like all organisms, creating conditions conducive to life and to specifically to the future life of their own offspring. So like, here's these termite mounds, you know, they might be 30 feet high. This is in Botswana where we were. And so these little termites come out at night and they're collecting all these scraps of wood and leaves of grass and basically stuff that no other creature can use because it's pretty much worthless. But together, it creates value. And what it does is, I mean, they're feeding it to their crops as a compost, but in the process of that, it's enriching the soil, and that's creating richer grass. It's drawing herbivores, and their scat is feeding the soil, and that draws carnivores, and then their carcasses are enriching the soil, and the systems just get richer and richer and richer, and more opportunities for more species. So more opportunities for diverse future possibilities. And that's that symbiosis, right? It's this, here we go. We want this diverse, different kinds of beings contributing together to make more for everyone. And that's really the way evolution works. And like as Melina was saying, you know, these fungal networks underground are actually supporting 95% of the trees on Earth. So it's a foundation. This kind of thinking is the foundation for all life. And I think, you know, we're in a position to become this, to do this. And so thinking of superorganisms, the human superorganism, Our role, our niche in the, if you will, is a meta ecosystem engineer. So we're provoking creative disturbances that cascade into diverse future opportunities. That's what we've done for tens of thousands of generations. And it's really our place in the landscape. We're still doing that, but it's not increasing diverse future opportunities. What we're doing is provoking creative disturbances that simplify living systems, that remove diversity, and that decreases our future opportunity. So you can think like, here's these elephants and what they do. We think of them as ecosystem engineers. They're going around and knocking down trees and are very destructive. But that's increasing the savanna grasslands that our own ancestors depended on. So you can see they're actually shaping the whole ecosystem and providing more opportunity. And we do that on a meta level. Here's this MILPA cycle that, we know that the forests in the Amazon are anthropogenic forests. They've been tended by people for generations. And that's that kind of knowledge and expertise that we need to remember. And so much of it's been lost. So here we are, we've actually lost the ability to increase diversity. We've lost a lot of that knowledge. So to me, in my role as a dean, we're focused on biocultural renewal, and we need biocultural leadership to do that. So here we have the human niche requires so many lifetimes of this biocultural knowledge, and it has to be renewed from one generation to the next. You have to learn it. And we're not doing it. The kids aren't learning the languages, they're not learning these old skills. It's irrelevant to them, right, in this clone landscape that we're all living in. And it's got cascading effects on the climate and everything else. So this leadership, I think of it as learning to see and develop unique potential in living things. So what we're doing is we're teaching kids to track animals, to actually sit in landscapes and learn how to see diversity and complexity, and suppress dominance so that, all these different voices can be heard, and to cultivate that shared purpose and belonging, because so many of us feel inadequate, failures, and we're supposed to, because we depend on each other. We're not supposed to be everything. We're supposed to be our best self, and all of us are required together. So that's the mission there. So at Geoversity in Panama, we're actually doing a lot of work with indigenous leaders that are up and coming, so that they have the leadership skills they need to renew that kind of knowledge and to take a place at the table and to shape these discussions, because it's really important, I think. So we're working with indigenous youth leaders. We've got gap year students, and they come to Panama and do this biocultural regeneration program. That then they go back home to their communities and they've got this new perspective, this evolutionary thinking. And we know that the indigenous communities are doing just about more than anyone really to protect water, to protect land, and to protect these old ways of being that we require. I think we have this idea that, indigeneity has been squashed out, but that's not the case. And I think we've hit a turning point where we're remembering that, and we need that knowledge, and we need that care, and actually that completely different paradigm of living in a world with all your relations. I think that's where we all need to come to. And we just have to remember that all of us were indigenous once. These are the European witch burnings. All of us have an indigenous soul struggling to survive in this modern world. So I think that's part of the work that we do as biomimics, is to reconnect people to their own nature and the nature that they are within. So that's important. The last thing I wanted to talk about is actually a project that we're doing at the Borrego Institute for Living Design, where I'm the director there too, and that's in Borrego Springs near San Diego. And you're welcome to come visit any of these places. But so we know that life is through this diverse process and natural selection. We've got this adaptive radiation, and things are becoming more and more unique and more cohesive in symbiosis, as Melina was saying. And so, you know, I've been hearing about these art, the NFTs, right? Where people are purchasing, basically it's a certificate of authenticity that this is a one of a kind. And I was thinking about that, and all living things are one of a kind, right? So why can't we use this NFT process to value diversification on the land? Can this be a way of attaching value to the biocultural renewal and the leadership that we're trying to cultivate? So these two guys, Thomas Hirschman and Thomas Hirschman, they're not related. They had an identity mix-up. One's in Canada, one's in England, but they got together. They had a like-minded thing, and then they called me because they had these ideas. So we kicked it around and we came up with this. So this, you can actually see the prototype is at mostbeautifulever.com, and it's an art land trust. So what it does is we invite what we call digital elders. So it might be artists, it might be indigenous folks practicing traditional ecological knowledge, naturalists, and any kind of like permaculture stewardship, anything like that. So diversifications upon the land can be purchased. An NFT can be purchased for those. And then, so that provides, so 10% of that money goes to the elder. So that's now these elders and these musicians and artists and all these people have a value for that, what they're creating. Because the problem is, in an efficient society, in a clone society, there's no value on these things. It's a struggle to do that, you know, and so how do you tell kids, well, you need to be renewing your cultural knowledge, when they're like, well, I'm not going to get paid to do that. Here you go. So here we can do, so what it is anyone can come do their art or any of these things in place. They have to create it in place. This is the Borrego Institute. And then they can acquire an NFT for that at this mostbeautifulever.com. And so we have like corporate sponsors or various sponsors coming in to support this. So basically what it becomes is a way of regenerating the land and regenerating the knowledge required to support that land. It supports diversification, which is the complexity that we need. And then 70% of that money goes to support the land itself. So then we can put that money back into permaculture, back into, you know, removing invasive species and things like that. So this is a thing we're just launching. It's very exciting. We had, we've got creative residencies. So we open them to, we have these bighorn sheep. There's only 150 left. We have it's 90 acres. We have an old Native American village is there. People lived here for maybe 9,000 years. The tools are all around the landscape. It's exciting to renew that. And then the Kumeyaay people that lived here are still in the area. So we're inviting them to do archaeology here as one of our first NFT projects. So that's one example. This is one of our Geoversity board members. This is Michaela Ironshell Dominguez, and she's you know, with us on this natural renaissance, which I think is very exciting. And we can do this anywhere, you know. So we have our first NFT at the Build. We're going to do another one in Geoversity, and the hope is that we'll get this community of elders and indigenous people and artists, musicians, all kinds of people coming together to regenerate land and culture together in all kinds of places. So you're welcome to start your own. So here's our creative residencies. This place is incredible. You can come and stay. We give you coaching on, like, if you want to write a book or something like that, this is the place to do it. And then those NFTs grow the complexity of the land. And I did want to say, I know the first thing you probably think is NFT carbon nightmare with the blockchain and all that. And so we're insisting that we tie this to a local currencies that do not rely on carbon. So that's not an issue for us. We've got these memberships, so people will come and art communities will grow, and we want to do this all over the world. I'm hoping other people will copy this. It's a great place. Beautiful. And so evolution, get the process right, and it will keep generating benefits in the future. And please, if you want to check out more, you can go to teaminnovationgroup.com. You can join our Patreon, which will have all of the teaming materials in there as well. So I'm hoping that people will just come and keep growing this evolutionary capacity. We have the evolutionary thinking and design. You can always come stay with us. We have all this great stuff, and we have lots of new books coming out and lots of cool stuff. So thank you, and team on, and thank you, Hugo, for having me. Oh, I got one more thing. Quickie. Let's see. I was going to show you our first NFT production.
You are not sharing the screen.
Oh, I'm not. Okay, wait. Do you see it now?
Innocent, remember, all we did was care for each other. The night was warm, we were bold and young. All around, the wind blows, we would only hold on to let go. No kiss, fire a gun, we will need someone to lean on. No kiss, fire a gun, all we need is somebody to lean on. Blow kiss, fire a gun, we all need someone to lean on. Blow kiss, fire a gun.
Okay. Stop share. Yeah, so that's we had some musicians come out. That's Grammy Award winner Hila Plitman and Aditya Kalampur, who's an incredible tabla player, well known. And so we're inviting people to come and create things. Come on down.
Thank you, Tamsin. I think it's beautiful, the work that the three of you are doing. And now I feel that the audience will understand why I've been so inspired and so eager to support what we are doing, because I think this is the way to evolve through collaboration and symbiosis. Mm-hmm. So thank you. So in my case, I would like to share a piece that I did for this special occasion. It's a unique piece as well, and let's go for it. So let me just share the screen. Can you see it now? It's a live performance, the one that I'm gonna do. So please,
we can see the screen, but it's black, Hugo.
It's meant to be black, as okay. They put in the chat, all lives matter. Okay, so let's go. So this is from Nature with Love, and it is based on a couple, on a family, and it is about dreams, visions, and intentions. So my intention is to try to bring some light as a bit with some bioluminescence, and I think we feel all as bigger fisher. So the piece is about metamorphosis, and metamorphosis with double F as meaning for evolution, just to try to imagine better. As you have heard, this is about biomimicry, and for us, biomimicry is also about ethos, emulate, and reconnect. We mind about nature, biology, and we would like to create conditions conducive to life. We mixed design, technology, and we think always about evolution as innovation. So as Nan said, disturbance, behavior, mutation, different evolutionary strategies as cumulative changes, community, collective advantage, coevolution, adaptive radiation, all these kind of strategies you will find them in biomimicry, but especially regeneration and niche differentiation. So some of the deep patterns that I found in nature together with the team is that nature, evolution in nature is also about the power of adaptation, where everything is connected. And it is about ensuring the survival of the next generation. It is also learn that the small changes add up to create big differences. And it is about the right pace. So please mind this. If we are about to understand how the economic system works right now, as they were also putting in the chat, it is mainly because of the industry and investors and the value assignment with private property and intellectual property as economic incentives for innovation. Also technology, education, and the market theory that it comes from the economic system and the industry based on the needs that they want to see so they can sell more, the brands, the concept designers and product. And the government policy is creating the natural resources policies around this. But this is a time of a different era, maybe, and the transcendency over time is on creation. And I think art and inspiration is pretty important. What if we can put nature and embed nature in everywhere in this map? So if we put our survival instinct as a need. So we found some leverage points to, as in Donella Meadows' idea with the paradigm shift and the system goal. And those are technology, education, inspiration, and lifestyle. In order to find our human niche, we live in one system and we need to create critical connections. We need to create conditions conducive to life, foster evolution, and enhance biodiversity. But present has change as the only constant. So we need this cultural evolution and we need creative shift if we want to make it happen. So as humans, I think we are toroids, we are bacteria. We are also an evolutionary flux. We are cells. We are energy. We are matter. We are consciousness. We are reality as well. We are collaboration. And we are electromagnetic fields. We are global healers. We are all nature. And I repeat it. Please, free nature, because nature we are. We are also cosmic and galactic beings, cosmic life, galactic beings. And this is something that I also learned in Humanity Rising, and I really appreciate it. And we need to acknowledge that there are exoplanets with highly intelligent non-human life. So we are not alone in this world. And we need to have a new perspective on our metabolic Earth, our global biosphere, or our Isle of Blue. Because I think evolution, it is to leave something better, something more beautiful behind us. So we need to create a better world for the next generations. And in terms of the globe, we have a global core as well, a tropical core that it seems to be indigenous, biodiverse, abundant. And if we take care of this, we'll be thriving as well. So in the indigenous culture, what I learned with the Amazonian people is it's about dreaming, it's about respecting, but it's also about loving. So they have this beautiful concept that is called Manigua, which is the spirit of nature. And it's something that we don't have specifically in science, but they have the wisdom, they have the knowledge, and they have also the imagination. Why cannot we share this if we are all humans as a species? There are many topics to talk about it. Social innovation, personal transformation, ancestral wisdom, scientific knowledge, but this is all part of regeneration. So there's also circularity or natural capital, new economies, biomimicry, evolution. let's take advantage of this to create an evolutionary economy where it is abundant. We can see market as ecosystems, we can follow energy exchanges, we can see the interdependency and create positive industries that add value to our planet through regenerative pathways. And these regenerative pathways are about co-evolutionary processes and interdependent transformation. So when we think about this, we really have to see that it is about interdependent transformation. We are not alone. And wealth transfer, as we like to see it, should be also wealth transformation, because we need to make it different. We need to create a capital that is actually life's capital that is there, but we need to appreciate it. So please mind about life, because all lives matter. And we need to act as a species to create thriving ecosystems. Who wouldn't like to live in a thriving ecosystem? So this is where I come from. And I created Biomimica as a biomimicry studio from nature. And from there, we have created 7 Vortex, which is a creative healing company, which is biomimicry based, regeneration based. But we want everyone to be alive, adaptive, and aware, but especially soul oriented. By using all this information, we have created in 7 Vortex the 3 rings to see the past, present, and future. And we have also understood that life is a graph. So mathematically, graph theory has helped us to understand and to connect the digital world and to try to understand the knowledge of the ecosystem knowledge that we have everywhere. So this is what 7 Vortex is doing. But it's also about energy exchanges. So how can we create this hive mind of humanity so we can connect knowledge from nature and traditional ecological knowledge in order to regenerate our planet in the form of a digital membrane. This is a neural network, but it is all about connection, and it is all about creating this membrane that allows us to protect, communicate, and transport. The metabolic earth, something that I realized is that if we keep repeating earth, it actually says heart. And it is all about water-based. Repeat, water-based. We are water-based. And we need this bioluminescence to happen. So please, shine your light and try to bring some of this bio-art of living, imagination, bioluminescence, paper fishery, bacterium, hope, love, and light. And this bio-art is also about great artists. So Da Vinci, Picasso, Miro, Humboldt, Thoreau, Dali, Van Gogh. And please, if you like to do this, play hard, be resilient, but play together. Love the moment, leave some life behind, and have some fun, because this is the way that we need it. And maybe from my dreams, we'll all become this rainbow dragon that we need to become, because we need to shine our light in the world and to try to bring it into a better future. So thanks a lot. And if you want to know more, you can go to bibliofishery.com. And also, for those interested in this, Panama in August, I will be doing a biomimicry adventure for about 4 days in Panama, in the place that Tamsin is in. And we're going to be talking about business and biology for this emergent regenerative future. So this is my email in case that you need something. Thank you very much.
I always get lost inside of your art, Hugo. And you know, I think one of the things that happens to me every time I bear witness to this beautiful work is that I think that my brain has to keep up because you go so fast, and yet everything you are saying resonates at a very deep core. So it's already there, that's being activated and triggered, which is the beauty of what you do. So thank you so much. I just have a couple of quick questions that one of them is a pretty specific one, and it's for Nan, and people want to know where to get the biomimicry oracle cards, Nan, because I think you've got a lot of people out here that really want to get their hands on that beautiful deck.
Well, thank you. So if you go to biominga.com, that's where the wheels and the cards are. And then I'll be making physical copies I'll put my email address up there, and then maybe people can, if they're interested in a physical deck, they could reach out to me about that.
Perfect. Perfect. So I have a question, because I think, as at the very beginning of the chat, it was around, that many of us are in urban centers. Many of us live in concrete jungles, where the retreat or the advance into eco-villages and places such as where you live, Hugo, for the moment now, are marvelous, and they're springing up everywhere. And there's a huge network of eco-villages occurring around the world, which is amazing. However, we are multiple billion in this planet who do live, many of whom live in these urban locations. And so what is the biomimicry lens and intelligence that we can use in those environments that allow us to be in this evolution in this moment? And any one of the panelists can, Hugo, could you start, and maybe then?
Yeah, well, I asked this question to Tamsin, and maybe she's the one to respond in a moment. Her straight answer was bring nature home. This is a great beginning. And Nan also gave me this inspiration of the salamander book, the salamander room, where by imagining how a salamander needs to be in its own place, then nature became our surrounding habitat. So I think the opportunity is in superorganisms also, as well, to understand that we are not the first one dealing with cities, and we are not the first one being a global species. So how can we create a harmonious relationship in between us and the ecosystem? Because coming from Mexico City, I really envision Mexico City as a healthy biosphere in the future. How can we create that? It's very tough, but this is where it's meant to be, and this is where we are at. So I don't know if someone else has another answer.
Yeah, I do. We're all nature. We just are nature. So I don't see any division there. I'm not in New York going, gosh, there's no nature here. I'm like, oh, look at all this nature. And look at all these things they've made. Look at these strange creatures and what they've made. And so that's why I'm always thinking that way. And so I think of potential. And, when I'm in the city, what I see is that, yes, this is nature, but it's been simplified. There's not a diversity of creatures here. I mean, we got some pigeons and cockroaches and people, but what was here before were hundreds and thousands of different species interacting, and that's what makes more future opportunities. So I try to think, instead of problem thinking, I think potential of what can we bring in to diversify this? How can we make more complexity? How can we hold space for more individuals and more diversity? But otherwise, it's all the same thing.
Thanks. Melina.
Yes, I have a comment on that, because I want to see it from a more internal perspective. I am an internal biologist, let's say. And I think that we need to really trust our connectivity. I am sorry I had to leave my home for an appointment for my son, so I'm kind of wearing this thing, which is not a profound way of connecting with people, or with the immune system that we need to be in touch with, because we actually share viruses, but we also share antibodies. So if we isolated us in this immune system, like completely by my own, dealing with the whole microbiome of the planet, it's a big mistake. It's a really huge, big mistake to do, because we need each other. We are interdependent. So to realize our interdependence in a biological perspective is really being able to just take it out, like being able to just trust, and being in contact, be in contact with who we are, and who is the other one. And from a deep, deep, deep perspective of, I will just cover for respect to my driver. because his beliefs, you know, because until the point that we will be really believing who we are and how we are connected in a so deep biological perspective, we will be able to tick this off. And this, it means any mask, any cover that will take us out of our vulnerability, out of the real connection of who we are, and the listening of which is our function. We have callings all the time from the earth because we are part of it. We not just by thinking of believing that we are not part of it, we stop to be part of the planet. So it's kind of letting the fantasy behind and just acknowledge that we are being told. So this kind of a deep listening of what Mother Nature is telling us at each moment in order to follow the reality, follow the energy. And that happens in the taxi. It happens, you know, everywhere we are in our families, in our daily life. And to be able to follow that and be brave enough to embrace that knowledge that is coming from Mother Earth will lead us to understand what's our function, how is our action, how to be first responders for regeneration, first responders for taking the right, you know, like step towards listening our guts and our hearts. That's it. So we really need to be brave enough to go towards that society and step into it every day.
And so from a biology point of view, Melina, what is because we talked about the disruptive nature of what we're living in. Is it our immune system that is the disruptive innovation that's going on in our biology? What would you say is the Homo sapiens way of dealing with this disruptive reality in which we live?
I have two examples. One is the quantum capability of a plant. Plants are observing how one photon is crossing the whole membrane systems into the cells, into the chloroplast, into the chloroplast and telecoils, and just to reach the chlorophyll molecule. And this observation, because it's so little probable something that will happen like that, just like one photon crossing all these molecules. But the plant observes the reality of that photon hitting the chlorophyll molecule. So that's one thing that we really need to take into account. We are able to observe the possibility that we want to manifest. We are quantum observers. So we want to really take that very seriously. And the second one is to be able to deal with our emotions in the sense of not fighting them, not resisting the emotions, because emotions actually not just have this cascade of biochemicals inside our body that actually regulates our metabolism, that actually regulates our DNA. This is epigenetics knowledge. But the thing is like to be able to cross through our emotions in a way that we are able to tap into what is the learning behind the emotion. What is life telling us? And it's probably a lot of healing, a lot of grief of an old paradigm that it is dying because we have been attached to that paradigm for so long. We need to grieve it. And sometimes it's just because under the sadness or the rage or it is a strength of understanding how life really works and how we can connect with each other and how we really become able to connect from the heart, from the guts, from the mind, together in order to be completely coherent as human being, as living being, to relate with each other. So that's my insights on the biology of it.
Well, you know what? How incredibly insightful, succinct, and all the while riding in a cab, taking to an appointment. You are the bee's knees, Melina. And so I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Hugo, any parting words that you'd like to share as we wrap up today's panel?
Again, thank you to everyone, and thanks to the biologists for being there, and thanks to the women for holding this space that has been so far very masculine. And we need this energy that we all hold. So let's just bring it out and let's just shine, because it's needed, and join one and every of the initiatives that were presented here, because I deeply respect these people. So it is my best way to endorse this and to say, let's walk the talk, let's collaborate, let's create symbiotic relationships. This is what makes a difference. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Tamsin. Thank you, Nan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melina, for being here. I'm so excited that Hugo and Melina are in the leadership of our Masters in Regenerative Action. And so next Wednesday, we are going to be going even more in a deep dive on regeneration on Humanity Rising. So stay tuned for that. But I want to first of all say thank you for this absolutely brilliant, diverse and rich conversation. That was the beauty of it, is that you did the art, Hugo, that you intended. It was a showcase, an artful showcase of biomimicry from multiple lenses, which is the intention, and man, you delivered, and everyone on this panel did. So I want to thank you for that. And just to say, for tomorrow, tuning in to day 293, it's the reflections on the future of language in the age of information technology. So we know that one of the main human systems is language, how we communicate, how we connect. And we're going to be taken on a journey into what that means by Ludwig Max Fischer, who is going to help us understand ecolinguistics and intercultural communication. So I don't think there could be a better follow-on to today's conversation than finding out more about how our language is evolving as a species. So until then, I want to wish you all the very best. Good luck settling into that beautiful location in Costa Rica, Hugo, and may all of us remain safe, and may all of us continue to regenerate. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.